Welcome to Tailgate Sessions with David Dom. So glad to have you a part of our program where we're going to talk a lot about the second step in making effective phone calls. And our previous two podcasts, we talked about really the importance of effective communication. We talked about tonality, provided some really, really important information there. Then our second part, we talked about the sowing stage, and that was the opening and building rapport and trust and respect and really gaining their focus and how important that is. And in this podcast, we're going to talk about the second stage in making effective phone calls. And that's the cultivating stage. That's the cultivating stage. Dad said my dad told me when I was little, I think 12 years old. And he said one of the hardest things he ever had to do as a dad was to send me home from cultivating one day. Yeah, I was having a hard time keeping it between the rows, and there was a lot of that cultivating blight. And so cultivating has always been something it's been pretty close to home for me. But in this stage, the cultivating stage is really an opportunity for us to cultivate ideas and planning specific plans. Allows us to cultivate the relationship through any objections or concerns they might have, and then it also allows us to cultivate and help and grow confidence in some of the decisions that we still have to make or have made in the past. So grab yourself that notebook and grab yourself a pen and that notebook and let's get started. Just talking briefly about some ideas that could help you really cultivate more effective communication using the phone. One of the questions that I would encourage you to ask, because it's really going to demonstrate your empathy, your caring, your professionalism, all those things that we said your voice needs to demonstrate. And that question is Andy, could you share with me what specific challenges are you facing right now that I could be of help to you solving? So what kinds and types of what specific challenges are you facing, Andy? And you notice how I said it in my example was, as I said, what specific challenges are you facing that I can help you with and I can help you solve? And, it's just amazing how that question can be helpful. Just another one that you can use is right now, do you have anything going on in your mind right now that you're not quite sure how it's going to go? You're really wanting to understand, from the service end, you're just not quite sure, so that you can sleep better. You're not sure how that's all going to go. I want you to be open with me, Andy. Share with me anything that's on your mind right now that's keeping you up in regards to the crop plan that we've done in the past. Let's bring it back up. Let's talk about it. It might be that you don't have some of those specific ideas already ramped up. And so, when you ask somebody that's stressed, is there anything I can do to help you? What do they generally say? Well, I don't know what it would be. Just where the commodity prices have gone, just what has happened in terms of their lives. I mean, they might have a family and now their family's home. They're doing that work. Maybe their spouse lost his or her job. It might be that they really enjoyed their son or daughter's softball and baseball. All that's gone for now. And so a lot of people, they don't even know how anybody else could help them. And so one of the things that you can do in the cultivating stage is to just suggest, I've got a couple ideas that I'd like to share with you that might be helpful in regards to whatever that regards to is. Gaining better stands to help you ensure that all your nitrogen's going to be there. I've got some ideas around seed. I've got some really good ideas right now that could help you in terms of getting everything done on your farm. Would you be open? Would you be open to hearing those and us having this conversation around it? So you're cultivating ideas. You're cultivating things that they can begin to use to help them. Here's some other words that I have found to be very, very helpful in the cultivating stage, and that is, could you list? So go ahead and write those words down. Could you list? So that might be, could you list your concerns? Andy, could you list with me right now kind of the plan that you have in regards to what fields you're going to plant first to last, kind of your planting order? Andy, could you list your specific needs that you're going to need from me this upcoming week? We might use the word describe. So describe to me what an ideal stand would look like. Describe to me what services, specific services that you're needing from me. Andy, describe to me how you're feeling right now. So describe to me, could you list, are all very, very helpful. I've said before in past programs that the 5 most powerful words that you can use in your life is, would you be good enough? Would you be good enough? Would you be good enough? And so, Andy, would you be good enough to share with me? Andy, would you be good enough to take a few notes for me? Don't forget the power of those words and utilizing that and those words in the stage of cultivating. You know, right now, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of us that are unsure. There might have been, I shouldn't have done that kind of stuff going on. And so what I want you to do is to write the words reinforce past decisions. Reinforce past decisions is a really important step in cultivating. Well, why would reinforcing decisions be so powerful right now? Well, if I'm unsure that was what I should have done, I might say, oh, I'll just take that out of my program. If I've already done it, I might be kicking myself. Now, I want you always to be honest. I always want you to be sincere. You might remember those are 2 components of what needs to come across in your voice. You remember that from our first program? And so I might say something like, Andy, it was a good thing. It was a good thing that we decided to go ahead and do that. You know, Andy, you remember last year when you were wondering if you should do a 1-year or a 2-year build? Boy, you made a really good decision there. You know, Andy, that particular hybrid has tremendous roots, has tremendous gray leaf spot tolerance, has tremendous whatever. You know, based on what your fears are right now in terms of capping cost, it's a good thing that we chose this specific hybrid. We may not have to use a fungicide on it. We'll have to see. But that hybrid has really shown great response to being able to control its gray leaf spot because it's so healthy. Now, I'm giving you examples, but what I do want you to remember is putting a star by reinforcing decisions is an absolute key thing that I need you and I would encourage you to do in regards to cultivating your relationships with your growers right now. Now, in the cultivating stage, this is where sometimes they bring up objections. They bring up things like, I think maybe I should need to cut that out, or I'm not sure what I'm going to do. They stall. Well, you might remember how David Dahm spells learn, right? And it's how you spell learn today. And that's L-E-R-N. L-E-R-N. That's how we spell learn. And remember, the L is listen. That's the listen stage. That's where we empathize. That's where we let the customer know that we heard them. And in the cultivating stage, this is where the customer really begins to open up. And when you're on the phone, isn't it nice when you're the customer to hear that warmth coming from the other person and you can tell they care? And they'll say things like, David, what I heard you say is. So what I want you to do is to always, when appropriate, to repeat some of the most powerful things your customer just told you. You have no idea the power of that. and what that does to rapport and trust, what that does in terms of how they see you, what it does to their heart, what it does to your heart. So repeat, empathize what they told you. E, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a few questions? That's an engagement statement. And that engagement statement, we're going to get 100% response. They're going to say, well, yeah. And that's where you begin to ask situation and or problem questions. You're right. One of your options would be to take that out of your program. Could I ask you a few questions? Well, yeah, David. I'm just curious. Have you thought about the drawbacks to yield if we would do that? Remind me why we chose to use that product and why we decided to move ahead with it 2 months ago. The R stands for resolve, and that's where we do the math. Could we do the math? Could we build the plan? Could we talk about the steps? Could I share with you the prevent, minimize, maximize, take advantage of, those PMMTs that remind them of the benefits of your product, remind them of the benefits of your program, remind the benefits of you and your value. And then the N stands for not, and that is after we've gone through that now, does it make sense now to keep that in there? After going through the math, can you see why getting a $2.50 return on every dollar you spend, why that would be important now? There are going to be objections. There is going to be tension. There is going to be fear. I want you to embrace that. I want you to run to that fear. I want you to run to those emotions that your farmer friends, your farmer customers are maybe having right now. I want you to run to them, and I want you to be there to help them. Someone gave me a great quote the other day, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. I'm going to say it, and then I'll say it again. So I'm going to say it twice, but I just want you to listen to this. If you don't take time to focus on your wellness, you will be forced to take care of your illness. So, if you're not taking time to focus in on how you need to be strong, well, then you're going to be focused in all what I would call the things that are all the ramifications of that with your family and friends and in your job. If you're not taking care of your wellness in terms of what you're eating and taking rest, well, then you're going to be forced to take care of all the what I call results of that. Your customer needs you right now. You're going to be cultivating the relationship through reinforcement, through listening, exploring, resolving. You're going to be cultivating the relationship by using words like, what kind of challenges and specific challenges are you facing right now, Andy? Andy, would you be good enough to describe what you're seeing? Andy, would you be good enough to describe how you're feeling? Could you list the specific things that you're wanting, that you're needing from me? Andy, could we generate a plan together? Andy, it was a good thing that we made the decision to go ahead with that 1 year build versus just a flat rate this year. Wouldn't you agree? It's the cultivating stage that's going to help you reach your customers in ways that you never have. We talk about real life. We talk about real issues in real ways. We talked about the cultivating stage today. This has been David Don. Good selling.